Most agents in Dubai will never tell you this, because if they did, you'd stop buying what they are selling. But the truth is that there is a huge gap between what's being marketed and what's really happening. I've spent over 12 years in this market and built my business by doing exact opposite of what most people in this industry do. I strip away the marketing hype and show investors what's actually happening based on real data and facts. So in this video, I'm going to reveal 6 brutal truths about Dubai real estate and exactly how to position yourself in this market so you can still win. Before we get into what everyone is getting wrong, I need to set something straight. When you hear Dubai property, most people immediately think of one thing, a single unified market that either works or doesn't. But that's the first mistake, because what I'm about to show you isn't just about correcting a few myths. It's about completely changing how you evaluate any Dubai deal so you actually understand what you're buying and what you're risking. So here are the 6 brutal truths you need to know about Dubai real estate right now. Truth number 1. Dubai is booming doesn't mean your property will perform. What most people get wrong, they treat Dubai like one big market. In the headlines, they say prices are up. They assume every area, every building, and every unit type is automatically protected. Now, let me explain you something. I get clients reaching out to me every day with different properties they bought just for advice. Is it right or wrong? And when I speak to most of them, after the call, they realize that they've actually purchased the wrong property. And let me explain you why. Very simple. They bought the hype. They thought that they're buying the best property. And when they actually then look at the data, the truth is something else. I've got so many clients who come to me saying that they bought a particular type of property. Markets are up. Why are they not able to sell? Well, if you buy something overpriced, that doesn't mean that you will make profit. And this is where you need to be really careful. Just because the markets are up doesn't mean that every property appreciates. This is a big myth. When you're seeing your property, sometimes some properties appreciate by maybe 10%, 15%, and some appreciate a lot. And what's the difference between the ones which appreciate a lot and ones which appreciate marginally? That's the data-backed approach you take while purchasing the property. Headlines and index charts average everything out. But in real life, Dubai is micro markets, ultra-prime waterfront, villa communities, established family areas, mid-tier apartment clusters, speculative off-plan corridors, and they do not move the same way. The Dubai is up narrative is often true in certain pockets, while other pockets are already plateauing, seeing yield compression or quietly building future supply risk. Now, here's my advice. Stop asking, is Dubai up? And start asking these questions. How is this exact community performing versus the city average? What similar supply is coming within 2 to 5 kilometers, and when does it hand over? What are the achieved rents for comparable units and not just the listing prices? If your micro market is underperforming while Dubai is making record high headlines, that's not bad luck. That's a warning. Now, I've spent years watching the same mistake repeat. People buy the Dubai story instead of analyzing the Dubai asset. So I put together an entire framework into the 2026 Investor Strategy Kit. So if you want a calm, evidence-based way to invest in 2026 without guessing, grab it here. All right. Once you stop treating Dubai like one big guaranteed market, the next lie becomes easier to spot because it's usually used to shut off your brain. Truth number 2, guaranteed ROI is often just your own money being paid back to you. What most people get wrong is they see guaranteed rent or guaranteed returns and assume it means safety. They don't ask who funds it, how is it structured, or what happens when it ends. Now, in most cases, developers give you a guaranteed ROI just for probably 2 or 3 years. What they do is they tell you a guaranteed ROI, say, for example, 10%. You buy the property, they give you the guaranteed ROI for 3 years, and once the guarantee ends, you realize that's not the real rent. And what they've done for this, they've sold the property at a much higher price to you, indirectly taking your money in advance first and giving it back to you. A lot of guarantees are funded by an inflated purchase price, then paid back to you in smaller pieces. It feels like income, but in many cases, it's your own capital coming back in installments. And even when guarantees are honored, the painful moment is often the day the guarantee expires, because the real market rent was never close to what you were shown. When you see guaranteed, do these things. Compare the promised rent to real market rent today for similar units without any guarantee. Get clarity on who pays it and what recourse you have if they don't. Run the deal as if the guarantee number doesn't exist. If it doesn't work on real numbers, walk away. Now, once you stop relying on guarantees, you run into the next brutal truth, the one that kills returns quietly, even when the markets look strong. The truth number 3, most Dubai yield claims are gross, and your net return can sometimes be half of what you expect. Now, what most people get wrong here is they hear 8% yield and assume that's what they'll keep. They ignore service charges, vacancy rates, maintenance, management, and transaction friction. Dubai service charges vary massively by building and amenities. Add vacancy time, maintenance issues, leasing fees, furnishings, and management, and the real return can compress fast. The trap is gross yield is easily to advertise. Net yield is what you actually live with. So here's an advice from me. Before you buy, get the latest service charge schedule for that building. Build a net yield model including vacancy, management, maintenance, leasing fees, and realistic rent. Compare net yield to your alternatives adjusted for risk and currency, not gross yield to gross yield. And once you've accepted that headline growth and headline yield can both mislead you, the next truth is where investors get really hurt going into 2026. Truth number 4, off-plan isn't risky. Oversupplied off-plan is risky. What most people get wrong, they assume that last few years prove that every off-plan launch is a shortcut to profit. They don't study future competing supply or who the eventual buyer will be, and they just jump into transactions. This is one big myth. The real danger is buying stock that will be common when it hands over. When multiple similar projects complete around the same time, you often see softer rents, more incentives, and weaker resale liquidity because buyers have too many choices. Map competing supply nearby, what's launching under construction, and handing over around your timeline. Define your end buyer. Who will pay you out when you exit? If your plan depends on flipping before handover, treat it as a trade and price the risk properly. Now, some of the worst long-term outcomes aren't from bad areas. They are from chasing the wrong type of return. Now, here's truth number 5. High yield often means low quality income, and low quality income creates long-term pain. How? I'll explain you this. What most people get wrong is they pick the cheapest unit with the highest advertised yield and assume as long as it's rented, I'm fine. They ignore the tenant quality, turnover, and resale demand. Now, let me give you an example. If you buy a studio or a one bed, and if you expect that your tenant is going to be there for a long term, that's not really happening. Usually, who rents these studios and one beds? It's people who are new into the city, who are just coming, trying to get established over here. In my personal opinion, even the default rates amongst the studios and one beds, when I say default means default in rent, is slightly higher than people who are renting the 2-bed, 3-beds or the villas. So this is just one thing which you need to keep in mind when you're buying a property which is really cheap, just based on yield, that who your tenant is going to be. Yield isn't just the percentage. It's the stability of the income and strength of the exit. Some high yield pockets can come with higher turnover, more wear and tear, more management stress, and weaker end user demand later. Meanwhile, some boring areas may appear slightly weaker on paper, but yield more stable tenants and stronger resale liquidity, which is especially important in a more selective 2026 cycle. Always ask these questions. Who rents here and how long do they stay? How does this community hold up when the market cools? Does the area have the basics that create sticky demand, such as access, schools, livability, maintenance standards? If you need to give up 1% of paper yield to gain stability and liquidity, that trade can save your portfolio later. Now, we get to the part that actually matters. How to position yourself so you can still win without FOMO and without freezing. Truth number 6. The winners in 2026 won't time the top. They'll own the right assets with the right structure. What most people get wrong here is they go to the extremes. Either they wait for a perfect crash or they buy aggressively because the market still feels hot. Both approaches are extremely emotional. The best investors don't need perfect timing. They need the right asset in the right micro market, conservative assumptions, a structure that can survive volatility, and a clear role for Dubai inside their wider portfolio. Dubai is also more regulated and more institutionally followed than earlier cycles. Not risk free, but it does mean you need a more nuanced approach than all in or all out. My advice: build a simple 2026 plan. Decide your objective: income, growth, lifestyle, or a mix. Decide your holding horizon. This is very important. Focus on a few micro markets you understand deeply. Don't stretch your finances just to own something. Weak assets get punished first when the cycle heightens. Now, knowing these brutal truths is one thing. Applying them to your exact situation is where most people get burned. So, if you want to invest with a strategy that's built around fundamentals, not hype, not influencer noise, not guaranteed brochures, my team and I can help. We'll look at what you own or what you're considering, pressure test the numbers, and map a clear path based on the current cycle. If you want the clarity, book a call using the link in bio. Now, the natural next question is, all right, if you were starting fresh, now heading into 2026, what would you actually do? That's exactly what I break down in the next video: the assets I target, what I'd avoid, and how I would sequence my moves so I'm not betting everything on one moment.